That's the before, and that's after. Hey, how you going? Hope you're having a shit one. A bit earlier this year, I was in Japan with Hayden and Lamont, and we snuck out onto our rooftop and took this photo and gave it an edit like this. If you're not too familiar with the actual editing style of that image, it's from a game I played called Watch Dogs, and I was actually kind of skeptical actually. I didn't actually buy the game for quite some time. By the time I bought the game, the second one had been released. That's how long I didn't buy it for, okay? Anyway, so obviously you remember that photo shoot we did back in Japan. I wanted to recreate that, but this time I wanted to walk you through a bit more of the process of the location, what lens to use, how to photograph something like that, like what's the composition, and then we'll sit down and we'll edit the photo together. So, before we go, I've got a couple of props that might be good for the actual appearance that I'm going for. No, not even might. They will be good. It's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. This photo shoot is more or less going to be a tribute to the first game with Aiden. So, you know, obviously Aiden, he wears like a giant overcoat, kind of like this one. We're going to use this coat, and he didn't actually wear it, but I wanted to mix sort of like the new games, the second Watch Dogs, you know how they wear headphones and they got the laptops and everything. So, and they'll be holding their phone here, obviously with the hat as well. And, that should make for a pretty decent photo. All right, so now that we've discussed that, let's go have a look at our location. Okay, so we're up on the billboard right now, and I've got the 16-35 2.8 on. I've chosen this lens because I pretty much just want to get a nice wide shot of the composition here. The image that I had in mind was to get him into the lower third and get the buildings in the top of the image, right? So quite a bit of planning has got into this image so I can Photoshop the lines into the shot later. Okay, that was a really good Photoshop. Okay, so that was a really good photo shoot, and I got exactly the photo that I need to make this picture. First thing we want to do is come over to this little lock tool. We're going to unlock the layer and duplicate it, right? I'm going to come over to this tool right here. Make sure you've got the line tool selected, and make sure the weight is at 10. This is what actually changes the thickness of your shape. You might have to play around with that number depending on your file size, but because my camera is 42 megapixels, it is quite a big file, so there's a lot of pixels in the image. So play around with the weight for your image. And once you've done that, you can pretty much just draw the lines wherever you like. Remember that the lines need to come from the mobile phone because that's what he hacks from. Yeah, give me a second and I'm gonna figure out where I'm gonna put the lines. Okay, so now that we've done that, obviously you can see on my image here that it looks absolutely nothing like the game and the lines look a bit fucked, but that's okay because we're going to fix that in a second. The next thing that you want to look out for is where you've drawn the lines, if they've gone across bodies or heads or anything. I personally like to put some lines behind other things. For example, we're going to go rub out the line here over the head so it's not actually going through his entire face and kind of ruining that composition there. What I like to do actually when I'm editing this photo is I have a reference image here. Maybe if you want to edit your version, you can have a reference image as well from the game, but yeah, whatever works for you. So anyway, so you want to click on the layer, find out which shape is what, and we're going to right click and go rasterize. Rasterize? What? How do you say it? Rasterize. Rasterize layer. Okay, whatever. Zoom in, and I'm going to use the pen tool for this one. So come over here to the pen tool, and I'm just going to very gently go around here and then make that a selection. I'm going to right click, make selection, and delete that. And I'm actually going to do the same for the other ones that go behind his arm here too. So let's do that same thing. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how everything looks there. Make sure these layers aren't selected, and basically we're going to grab all the shapes. We'll rasterize, whatever. Hit that button for every single one of the shapes, and then I'm gonna press Control Command Shift E, which is basically, oh no, actually I'm still getting used to the Mac. Shift Option Command E. Yeah, okay, cool. So that basically makes all of the shapes one layer. So every single shape that we've done here, it just puts it into one whole layer, okay? So now what we're gonna do is actually make the consistency of the lines. So we're gonna bring down the opacity to about 60%, and then we're gonna come over to filter, noise, add noise, right? And I did this a bit earlier, but I tried about 200, but again, depending on your pixel size, this might change for you. But I might try about 250. Make sure it's on Gaussian and monochromatic. That means your noise, basically, the noise that it makes is black and white and not RGB. So make sure those are ticked, and that's basically gonna create the consistency of the lines, if that makes sense. When you zoom in real close, it's obviously like really fucked up and really noisy and stuff, but it's supposed to be like that. Okay, now the next thing we're gonna do is create the squares. So obviously if we come back to our reference image here, you can see that there's little squares that have been made. So they're really easy to make. Same as the lines before, we're gonna make these a tiny bit thicker as well, but these little squares, they stay white, if you've noticed that. They're not part of the same line. So they're not the same texture as the lines itself. So they can actually just stay white, and we'll lower the opacity. But what we're gonna do is come over to the line tool again, and we're gonna make the weight a little bit thicker than before. So I'm gonna try 15. Basically what we're gonna do is build your square here, and then duplicate your square as many times as you need for your image. Okay, now that we've got our square up here, we're gonna do the same as before. Shift, Option, Command E, gonna make that one layer again. And I'm just gonna hide all of these other layers because we don't need those. I should have done this at the start. I should have actually named the layers and stuff or whatever. We're gonna name that one square. Anyway, so now that we have our square, we can actually just duplicate that as many times as we want. And we're gonna grab them and put them in the necessary positions. Alright, and that's pretty much how you draw the lines to make a watchdog edit. That's how I do it. You can do a number of things from here. You can actually write some text up above, you know, saying what's been hacked and going building hacked. Lamont Fan actually did a really good one back when we were in Dubai. He made a really awesome one. You can go check his feed out for that one. Basically, you can get as creative as you want with this. I'm not really here to tell you what exactly you need to do to make this kind of edit. I'm just showing you how to do the basics of it. I mean, you can go into hectic detail with one of these edits and you can make this as awesome as you want. And if you do make one, I'd love to be able to see it as well. So if you actually want to tag my Instagram at North Borders, tag me in your photos when you make a watchdog edit, because I would love to see what you create. Anyway, we've done this image now. Let's bring it over to Lightroom and give it a quick edit. Okay, now that we have it open in Lightroom, first thing I'm gonna do is come over to any of the presets and see if anything works. But night blue and orange looks pretty sick. I actually think I'm gonna go with blue and orange. Fuck, that looks fucking sick too. Nah, I'm gonna go with blue and orange and we'll work from there. All right, sweet. So I'm gonna bring up the shadows a little bit. I'm gonna get a radial filter. Any radial filters in this? Just make sure these radial filters, I'm just gonna move them around so they're over the subject. I'll actually just delete that one. I'm gonna bring the exposure down in this radial filter just to create a bit more subject focus. And this one, this is the radial filter that affects the actual subject and the buildings. We're gonna bring a bit more shadows out of this one, a bit of clarity. What I am noticing, because I've done that, now his face is like incredibly highlighted. So we're gonna zoom into his face, maybe even a bit more. Grab the brush tool. Basically, we're just gonna brush around his forehead and his eyes, just like this. And then we're gonna delete anything on the actual mask itself. Oh yeah, by the way, I didn't actually say there was a mask in the props. We actually got the mask a bit later, before we actually did the photo shoot, just so to let you know that. But anyway, finish brushing his face there, and then we're just gonna, make sure the brush is selected. And then we're gonna just take the highlights down a little bit, just so his face is still visible. And maybe a bit more yellows coming back into his face. That's looking pretty good. This was just a slightly different shot, but that's the before and that's after. That looks fucking sick. Anyway, thanks for coming along to the photo shoot today and watching the editing tutorial. Like I said, you can take this really far. This was just a really basic induction to how to do the watchdogs edit. You know, I might even add some more text into this image or play around with the lines a bit more, but it's completely up to you how you want to do this edit. I thought I'd just show you the actual process on how to make the lines and the squares and everything and what actually goes behind a photo shoot for one of these images. So if you did like this video, leave a like down below and help me out by hitting subscribe, and maybe leave a comment down below for any feedback or new video ideas that you want me to try out. Leave it down below for me. But with that all said and done, I'll see you in the next one.